Hello everyone, welcome to AWS Tutorials. In AWS Tutorials, you learn about AWS services. Many of my audience were asking about making some scenario-specific tutorials for creating glue jobs using Glue Studio, and primarily using most of the transformation which comes out of box with Glue Studio. So it sounded like good idea to me. So here is the first tutorial where we are going to talk about how you can use how you can join data sets in AWS Glue ETL job. So let's get started. So let's talk about what problem we're trying to solve here, and I will give you one example, but basically that will give you enough idea about how in similar other scenarios you can use joining of two data set to solve your problems. So let's take a scenario that you have got two data sets. One data set is sales data set where you're keeping your customer sales information. This might be coming from some ERP system. And then you have other data set which is keeping your customer profile information, contact information. And that data set might be coming from, say, CRM system. And suppose there is someone who says, hey, I want to get the name of customer, I want to get customer name, customer email, and sales value where customer sale is more than 9K. Okay, and the person wants to use this information for running some kind of special campaign for high value customers. So you do see a requirement where you need to create a third data set which will be by joining your sales and customer data set, and this third data set will be high value customers data set where the customer sales is more than 9K, and you are only interested in keeping customer name, email, and sales value as 3 columns for your data set. So you might come across this is just one example which I'm going to use to explain the whole concept of joining of data set, but it is similar. Like you might come across many other use cases like this where you might have to join 2 or more data sets like this to build your a third data set which then you can use for certain business purpose. So how we can create such a joining of data set? Well, you can use Glue ETL Job to curate a joint data set, and the way it works is that you can create an ETL job which can join 2 data set stored into 2 different data source or data location altogether, and then you can join that to a third data set. Now, the purpose of this screen is to show you that your data set need not to be in the same data location. So for instance, your sales data could be in any of these locations like S3 bucket or Redshift or JDBC, and this is just an example. I mean, data set could be beyond this data location. Similarly, customers data set can also be one of these 3 locations. Using ETL Glue Job, actually you can join these 2 data set and can generate a data set which can then be stored into any of these 3 locations. Again, these 3 locations I'm giving as example locations, but there could be locations beyond it, like it could be a document DB or DynamoDB or even other locations supported by Glue where you can store data set or from where you can read data set. So how does an ETL job look like? So if you're trying to build an ETL job, how does a typical ETL job will look like, which is trying to join 2 data set to create a third data set? The job will look something like following. Again, I'm going by one example, but that will give you enough idea what it takes to join 2 data sets and generate a third data set. So basically what you will do is that going by the example of sales and customer, you will have to read both sales and customer data set into 2 data frames, and then you basically join both of these 2 data sets. So that will make these 2 data set data coming together. Then you might want to do some filtering on the rows. For instance, in this example, we were only interested in those customers where sales value is more than 9K. So that's example of the filtering. You want to do some filtering on the rows. You might want to do some filtering on the columns. So like in this example again, you are interested only in the customer name, customer email, and sales value. So that's the example how you can filter your columns. And finally, you write your data set to a destination location of your choice. So basically, what you see here is that you populate your sales data, you populate your source data into different data frames. Then you join those data sets. And then these two steps are example of any kind of transformation you might want to perform on those data sets to get your desired data set. And finally, when you get your desired data set, you simply write it to a destination location. Okay, so that's how the typical glue job look like. But as I said, this is just one example. You might have more transformation in your scenario, but the basic fundamentals remain the same. First, you join data set, then you perform your transformations on that, and then you write to a destination location. So let's try to say if I'm trying to build this data set in Glue Studio, what different out-of-box features are available which can help you quickly build such a glue job for you, which can join to data set, perform some transformation, and write to an output location. So first step is you want to read your data sets in a data frame. And for that, you can use any of these. So if you look at the Glue Studio has got source, which are used to read data from the source, action, which are used to perform various kind of transformations, and then target, which is used to write data to target location. So when you're trying to read data from the data source or from the data set, you have to use sources. Now you can see there are various options available to read data from sources. It could be from a catalog, from S3 location, from Kinesis or Kafka for streaming data. It could be Redshift, Warehouse, or any of the any of the relational database or JDBC endpoint. So using these sources, you can read your source data sets into data frame. Now, once you have got your source data into data frame, then you want to join your data sets. And you can perform joining of the data sets using one of the out-of-box transformations available. That's called join transformation. And configuring the join transformation is pretty straightforward. So basically what you do is that when you try to configure the join transformation, first you have to select what kind of join types you want to do. And there are largely 4 different types of joins you can create. You can create inner join, outer join, left or right joins. So you can select one of those joins. And then you simply select what different keys or fields you want to use for creating the join. So for instance, in this example, you can see here that I'm creating a join between customer ID fields across 2 data sets. And there could be more such conditions of joining on more than one key you can create using this join transformation to join your data set. Now this step is going to simply do a kind of select from 2 tables kind of query on certain where clause, and it will simply populate a third data set for you. But that third data set might not be the final data set for you based on your business requirements, so you might want to perform more transformation. So like in this examples, we want to filter on rows in join data set. And like in this example, I said that I am interested in only those customer sales where the sales value is more than 9K. So if you want to filter on rows, then basically you can use another out-of-box transformation. It's called filter transformation. And when you use filter transformation, basically what you can do is that you can create filter criteria on your columns. So like in this example, you can see here I'm saying my sales value should be greater than or equal to 9K. And you can see here that I can create various combinations of ands and ors to create a very complex filter criteria for filtering out my data. So this is example that how you can filter on your rows based on certain conditions. So now, after row filtering, you might also have a requirement where you want to do a column level filtering. And if you want to do a column level filtering, then basically you can use another transformation. And that transformation is called select fields transformation. And when you use a select fields transformation, basically it's a pretty straightforward transformation. Here you can simply select that what columns you want to take forward, what columns you want to keep into data set, and what you want to simply drop out. So in our example, I was interested in customer name, email, and also sales. So I simply keep those three transformations or those three columns into my data set. Rest I'm not selecting here and I'm dropping them out. So this two transformation of row label and column label in this example gives me my desired data set, which I want to simply write to the output location. Having got that, now my requirement is simply write this data to some destination location, and for that I can simply use my target nodes, where I can simply choose a location which could be anywhere from catalog to S3 bucket to Redshift to a JDBC endpoint. And depending on my business requirement, depending on my data platform configuration, I can select one of the destination location and can write my data to the target location. So these are different out-of-box constructs or nodes which are available in Glue Studio to read data, join data, transform them, and then write to the output location. Now, this is how my Glue job look like. So you can see here that if I look at my Glue job in Glue Studio, these two are reading my data from the data frame, from my data sources, joining data set, then I'm doing a row level filtering, then I'm doing a column level filtering, and then I'm simply writing in this case to the S3 bucket location. That's how the Glue job look like. So time for a demo, because that's pretty straightforward. I want to show you that how you can use Glue Studio out-of-box transformations to read multiple data sets, join them, transform them, and route right to the output location. So like in this demo, what I'm going to do is that I have got my sales data and my customers data in two S3 bucket locations, which I have cataloged them. Then I'm creating this Glue ETL pipeline, which simply going to read data, join them, transform them, and write to the destination location. And my destination location is again S3 bucket, which I'm also then cataloging, so I can simply go query and see my data. So that's a demo I want to build today. So let's get started. Here I move on to my AWS console. Let me show you what I have already configured in order to save some time. So you can see here I have got a Dojo dataset bucket, where I've got three folders: my customers folders, sales folders, and customer sales folder. Customer folders has got my customer data, it's already there. Sales folder has got my sales data, which is again already there. And customer sales folder, where I'm going to write my this is my destination location. This is where I'm going to write my transform data. This is blank right now. So if I show you these three locations, so it has got my customers location, where I've got my customers.csv file. This is my sales.csv file in my sales folder. And then if you look at the customer sales folder right now, that is empty. And this is where I'm going to write my data. Now, if I go to Athena, in fact, before I do that, let's go to Glue. So if I go to Glue, you can see here these customers and sales folder locations. I have simply data. I have simply cataloged into a table. And if I go to Athena, you can see here that these two tables are available. Customer has got these fields available right now. Sales has got the following fields available. And what I'm interested in is basically joining two data sets. And when I join these two data sets, I'm going to have only three columns: customer name, email, and then I will have sales column from the sales table. But then I will only select those rows where sales value is more than or equal to 9,000. So that's what I'm trying to create today in my Glue job. So let's get started. So let's go to Glue Studio, and in Glue Studio, I want to create a Glue job. So I will simply go for a visual with a blank canvas, and create the job. And first thing first, let's configure my job details so that I'm done with that part. So I can simply call it join. Oops, come on. Join DS or join data ETL. Oops, my keyboard is slow today. Job. In IAM role, I'm simply selecting my Dojo Glue rule, which I've already pre-configured with required access to data. I selected Glue Studio 3, language is Python, rest I keep everything out of box, number of retries is set to 0. I simply save it, so that will save my job details. Now I can start configuring my Glue job. So I come to Visual first, and I want to first read my data from both data locations. So I simply go to my source and I use read data from AWS Glue catalog, and I want to do it 2 times. Yeah, here we go. And in the first one, I'm reading data from in my Dojo DB. I have got my say customers table. Okay, so I'm reading data from the customers in this one. And if I come over here in the second one, I'm reading data Dojo DB and from sales. So in one, I'm reading data from customers. In other, I'm reading data from sales. So here I populate both of my data sets. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to action, and I want to join these 2 data sets. So I simply put a join. And here, if I say join, basically I need to configure it. So if I say I'm joining, so which 2 data sets I'm joining? So basically I'm joining these 2 data sets. Okay. So basically, yeah, here we go. So I join these 2 data sets and I save it. Now, if I go to join, and then if I go to transform, here I can configure. Now, you might see this kind of message to you. Basically saying is that, you know what, it says that there are some common column ID in both of the data sets, so you might want to put some kind of prefix, custom prefix, to distinguish them, to see them different. And in this case, saying, hey, should I simply put right to the right one, and say, yeah, fine. Let's. I mean, you can put anything else, but let's say, yeah, I want to simply resolve it by putting right, by prefixing right to the right one. So you see here that when I did that, basically it added one more transformation, and what it is doing is that it is taking my, well, in the right hand side, my data was sales data, and in that sales data, it has simply renamed my column from, say, order number to right order number, and sales to right sales, which is okay. I mean, you can change it to whatever you want, but I say let's use out of box for now to save my time. So now that I have resolved my names over here, and again, this resolve thing will come only if you have a common column names across 2 data sets. Otherwise, this message will not come to you. Now I can add my condition. So my condition was that both of these both of these data sets has got customer ID as the column, as the common column name. So I go to the first one, which is my customers table, and I simply select customer ID from here. I say this customer ID should be equal to, if I come all the way to the bottom, the customer ID in the right, and right is nothing but my sales table. So I'm simply saying that I'm creating inner joins. So you can see, you can select other type of joins as well, but I'm saying I'm doing an inner join between customer ID columns across these 2 data sets. Now my data sets has been joined. Now I want to provide some, say, row level filtering. Okay, so so I simply go and say, okay, let's say the row level filtering. So for that, I'll simply go to my filter data construct. So if I go to my filter data construct, I select this. You can see here it's simply giving me option to put some conditions, and here I'm saying that my if I select my right cells, Yeah, because remember my data has joined now, so I have got column from both the data sets. So this data set has, if you go to in fact output schema, you can see that it has got both columns from both the data sets. So now I can perform filter criteria. So I'm saying my sales basically should be greater than or equal to 9,000. Okay. Yeah, here you go. Yeah, 9,000. So I simply save this. So I have simply put filter condition on my data set, join data set, where it will only keep those rows where the sales value is more than 9,000. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to put my column level filter, because I'm not interested in all the columns. I'm interested only in certain columns. So I simply go to my action, and then I go to my select fields over here. And then, okay, let's increase the resolution. So you can see here my select fields transformation, and here say, okay, which fields you are interested in. And I'm interested only in customer name, customer email, and then I can go and select my sales, which is right sales. Now, if I look at the output schema, this is how the output schema is going to look like. It's going to be a customer name, email, and right sales. Now, you might say this name doesn't look good to me. I want to rename it. And to be very honest, you can simply go to actions over here and look for a rename. Rename field here. You can add one more transformation here. We'll simply rename your right sales field to sales. And then you can simply change the value. So in fact, let's do that. So let's put a rename field over here, and then if I go to my rename field, I can simply say this right cells I want to convert into just sales, nothing more than that. And if I look at the output schema, now it looks fantastic. Customer name, email, and sales. Now all my transformations are done. Now I have to write it to the destination location. So for that, I simply go to my target nodes, and I want to write it to an S3 bucket location. So I simply say S3 bucket location. Again, I need to configure this. So this S3 bucket location, I want to write data, say, in Parquet format. And then I want to simply use snappy compression type, and let's select my destination location. So I simply say dozo datasets, customer sales, and choose. So this is the destination location. I can simply then select the cataloging option also. So I have provided my data format, a compression type, and my location. Now I do have also choice to simply catalog the data as well, which I'm interested in. So I say let's create a table in the catalog table. In fact, keep updating as well if the existing I want to update the schema as well if each time the job runs. So the middle one. Then I select my my location, database in which I want to catalog my tables. This is DojoDB, and customer table name is say customer sales. Oops, sales. There we go. So here I save my data, my configuration. So with that, now my job is ready. And what exactly I'm doing in this job is that I am reading data from the data sets over here. You can see I'm resolving some conflicts over here by renaming the column names. Then I'm joining them, then I'm filtering on the row, then filtering on the column. Then I wanted to rename one of the field because I want to look nice. And then I'm writing it to the S3 bucket location. Just saving it one more time to make sure that it is saved. So it is saved now. I'm now good to go and run this glue job to show the joining of data sets. So I simply click on the run button. And if I go to my runs tab, I can see my job execution is in progress. So let's wait till job execution is complete, and then I will show you how does the output look like. Okay, so you can see the job has succeeded. Now if I go to Glue catalog, I can see my table is also created, customer sales, which is basically showing my data stored in customer sales location. If I go to customer sales folder over here, and if I refresh my folder, you can see it should show all the Parquet data which has been stored for the data set which I just created. So that was the example how you can create a Glue ETL job, which can be used to join two or more data sets together to create a third curated data set, which you can then use for any of the business purposes. So that was all I wanted to cover today. And if you like the video, please click on the like button. Please subscribe to my channel. I look forward to presenting another video in a week's time. In the meantime, yeah, please stay safe and have a nice day. Bye bye.